Fire Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the National Fire Radio podcast. It's been a week or two since I recorded. I've had a ton of travel going on, so please excuse the lack of daily episodes that we're known for, but it took a week or two to regroup. But what's fun about that is one of the weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, I was down in Iowa. Had a great time for 3 or 4 days in the Siouxland area, they call it. And from that, I come to get to meet a lot of great people, see a lot of great fire departments, talk to people, hear what's going on in the American Fire Service. A lot of the same conversations are happening everywhere. But the fun part about it is I get to meet new people. And George Glass, George, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, brother, you and I, we rapped hard.
We did, we broke it down.
I was humbled and honored. You guys in Sioux City invited me over to Engine 1. And what's the is that Truck 1 in there too? Yep.
Station 1, house is both Truck 1 and Engine 1.
And you guys were very kind to invite me and Anthony in for. Anthony was my host while I was out there showing me around. You guys invited us in for breakfast on the morning before I was leaving. And we ended up staying for like 2.5 hours. And we just had an incredible conversation around breaking bread, which I think is so important in the fire service. And I think that's why the kitchen matters so much in the fire service, right? But you guys were kind enough to invite us in as strangers, really didn't know much about us. And next thing you know, it was like we were longtime friends just chewing it up about the fire service. And I truly enjoyed the conversation to the point that I wanted to have you on the show. So I'm grateful for you to be here today. Thanks for joining me, man.
Well, I honestly, I really appreciate, and again, like I said earlier before we started recording, it was truly an honor and privilege meeting you. What I love about us firefighters across the nation is we're truly similar in a lot of ways. And just meeting you was fun and an honor. We loved it in little old Sioux City, Iowa. You know, it's kind of, we're up here in the northwest corner of Iowa, kind of Midwest feel. So when we get one of the Coast Boys to come in town, we really enjoy that
the Coast Boys,
the opportunity.
Well,
it was good.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you this too. All the travel I get to do, I was in Iowa, then I headed out to Illinois the week after, and really that was as rural as Iowa was, which I was kind of surprised about. But I'm a very lucky guy that I get to go all in on the fire service and meet people from all over. And the one cool thing is that it's still the common theme across the board that most of the guys that I encounter are absolutely in love with the fire service. And it's refreshing to change the scenery, change the way the town looks or what the zip code is. But there's still this common theme about the fire service has been good to me and I'm here for the right reasons. And I think those are the people that I always seem to find. And I just think that, good people gravitate to good people. I believe that.
I believe that too. I would second that, which, is the obvious, relationship that me and you created. And then, for me, it's always to, what is your why? And I'm kind of quoting one of the motivational speakers that I listen to, Mr. Eric Thomas, ET, and is what is your why? And that's probably for me as an individual, what stands out for me is my why is so strong with the fire service and why I'm a firefighter that, every day I'm blessed and honored to be a firefighter here in Sioux City, Iowa. And I love it. I mean, the why keeps me going every day. So,
but we could get, here's the problem, right? And we talked about this a little bit and I want to explore that. I mean, I love that. I mean, you're a guy that's pretty intense from what I've learned. You go all in on the things that you're all in on. 49ers, by the way, it's everywhere in your life. Including your email address, right? So like you're an all-in type of guy, I think, right, George?
Yes, sir. Right here. See, look at there. That's back 1989 right there, 1990 right there, baby. Let's do it.
I love it, man. I love it. And my point is on that, right, is that when you go all in on something, sometimes we can get let down, but it's how we come out of that, right? There's a lot of peaks and valleys in the fire service, just like in life. And when you go all in on something, sometimes we get disappointed and it can become discouraging. And I know sometimes, or a lot of times in the fire service, conversations always trend negative. It's always about the bad stuff and not so much the good stuff. How do you stay focused? I mean, what is your why? Like, how did you make that a part of who you are, your mantra, who George Glass is? Like, how did that come to be?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of started early as a kid, right? I grew up in a single parent house. Um, Mom, two boys. She's doing the best she can. Midwest values, a country girl raised on a farm. So, I didn't have a father figure at the time to kind of lead me in the right path, so to speak. So there was a lot of people that has came through my life that has influenced it. Teachers, neighbors, older kids, good and bad, and I took that and put into what I say is the mixing pot. And I started working when I was 14, detasseling corn here. Actually loved it. There's gonna be people out there that's like, this guy is nuts. And it was manual labor, 14
Yeah.
kids. It's 5 a.m. in the cornfields. It's wet, it's rainy, it's muddy, but I did it for 3 years. And at the end of the 3 years, went into the restaurant business. That's where I was able to, make those omelets that we had that day you
Yeah, they
came
were
in.
good, man. No doubt.
And I had Perkins Family Restaurant here in Sioux City, Iowa. Rod and Lisa, shout out to you, two people that hired me. And again, it molded who I was, and the events definitely made a lot of mistakes along the way. I was a punk kid. I had to get the snot beat out of me a couple times, and you take your licks, you keep on ticking. And then met a beautiful woman, my wife, Kara. She's my rock. We've had our ups and downs,
Sure.
but we've learned to grow. And the why, it just kind of, we don't get to really control a lot of things in life, right? We don't, outside of what you can control, and that's attitude and your passion towards something, right? Attitude and effort. And the fire service came to me later on. I was working out in the world, Perkins restaurant, um, Wells Bunny in Lamar's, Iowa, where I needed to make a little bit more money, insurance, stuff like that, grow as a young adult. But they weren't fulfilling, right? The fire service is really a fulfilling job. And for younger people, they don't understand that. And I learned it, started testing. Took me 7 years to get my career for whatever reason. Made lists, didn't make lists. Met some beautiful people along the way. Got to experience what it's like in a small portion. Joined volunteer department north of Sioux City. Sioux City, they don't have it, obviously, the career department. So to
Right.
get any fire experience, I had to join a volunteer north of department. I got my fire one, fire two through them. And then yeah, 7 years later, taking the test, I got the call. I'm on the department, and then again, whew, learned a lot. You know, uh, when you truly have, like I was telling you, when you truly have what I call the Chicago fire calls, right? I mean, Sioux City, we don't get a lot of those where we risk our life every day. I mean, I had a guy tell me one time that he hated Chicago fire. He's a firefighter, one of the old goats that I love. He says, if I had to risk my life every single day like they did, how many of us would actually do it? So that kind of put it in perspective for me of when we have those calls, when somebody calls us on their worst day, it's truly their worst day regardless of what it is. And you as that firefighter, you got to be compassionate, understanding, and professional. I mean, you got to get the job done. And for me, every call helped build the why. And then, when you start to have kids of your own, the whole world's a different perspective, and I'm blessed with two beautiful children, and you just don't look at things the same. Now,
Let
it's
me
not about me, it's about that child.
let me hop in because I want to. There was a lot there, and I kind of want to break
Yeah.
it down with you a little bit because you mentioned mistakes
Yeah.
growing up as a punk kid, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I came to realize that I've only gotten better recently. I'd say in the last 5 to 10 years, I've really started taking more accountability and ownership of who I am and who I want to be. I recognize the importance of mistakes. You mentioned mistakes specifically. When you were young and a punk kid, did you realize that the mistakes you were making were one day going to make you stronger and better? Or did
No.
that come on later in life where you started realizing that, man, that path I took, it might have been the hard way or the long way, but I needed that?
Yeah, 100%, Jeremy. I mean that you don't know that, and I think that has something to do with youth, right? And
Yeah.
when I talk to the younger fire guys, I really try to take all my experiences as a kid and really hone it down when I look at these kids. I'm gonna be 47 this year, so
Yeah,
everybody's
man, I'm
almost a
right there
kid.
with you. I'm 47 now, bro.
everybody's really a kid now, Jeremy, that comes onto our fire department. And
Yeah.
we were all there. Every generation is going to go, all that generation, right? And I'm not going to get in the whole generation discussion,
Sure.
because the guys that were older than me, they looked at me and did the same thing. But
That's
this
right. That's
generation
right.
does lack a sense of tough skin that you and I experienced as a child, as a younger kid, making those mistakes. And those mistakes really help you and I and the other guys out there be better firefighters because of it. Because you can go back and you look on how you did that, But at the time, no, God, you're a punk kid. You hated the fact that someone was pointing out a mistake. Number one. Number
Yes.
two, you were like, I don't know why that's such a big deal, And it could be something as minuscule as soon as the lights came on, Mom said, "Get inside." Well, I was a 15-year-old kid, rock star. I didn't need to listen, right? This is my neighborhood. I run the show. I ain't coming in. And yeah, it was some trials and tribulations with just that particular rule that I'm like, that's a great rule. So, I mean, it just molds you. It really does. And you just try to look at it and move forward.
I think one of the hardest things in the fire service today is explaining to people, explaining to new firefighters that it's a process and that you need to have patience and allow the process to happen. I know early on, just like kids today, I tried to rush the process too, but with time came clarity. And I've come to understand that no, I mean, even with 29 years in the fire service for myself, I still have a long way to go, and I'm learning every single day. I mean, having breakfast with you guys a couple weeks ago, I learned a ton of stuff that I didn't know. We talked a lot about a lot of different things that how you guys operate or what you do that's very different to me. But I'm in a place today that I'm very confident in who I am, so I'm willing to listen and understand where other people are coming from. And I think that all of that gets mixed up in the very beginning, and I just think that that's part of the process, right?
I would
Longevity,
agree.
it takes
Yeah, I
time.
would agree. I would agree with you, Jeremy. There's that saying, you got to crawl before you walk and you got to walk before you
Yes.
can run. And I think that, I mean, that is really true in the fire service. And God bless them, because I was there too, but you got these overzealous kids coming in, right? And I'm not throwing shade on them. You're ignorant because you're young. Every young kid is ignorant because nothing's going to happen to me until it happens, right? And
I was there
that,
too. You were there
yeah,
too.
me
Yeah.
too. And that
Hmm.
ignorance, right, causes you to run before you can crawl. And you get these kids come in, and that's where that sometimes that bitterness or that negativity, where you got an old crusty guy like you and I, and you get these young 20-year-olds coming in, and they want to be aspiring officers, or they're aspiring to be an assistant chief. And it's just like, you don't even have 2 years under your belt, bro. And we get kind of, and I do sometimes with that, but also too, I try to take a step back and look at that as an opportunity to go, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with this kid and see if I can connect with him as a firefighter. Because you and I both know, whether or not we connect on a personal level, when that bell rings, you and I on the engine, we've got to do our job.
That's right.
And we
That's
got to
right.
connect out there. Like, there is no quorums about that. So if I can, at the firehouse, be able just to sit back, like you said, listen to this kid, because honestly too, a lot of times if you sit and you listen to kids from different walks of life, you can learn something as an old guy, and help you get better. But on the same token too, for me, I just try to keep it real with these kids and try to talk to them like I wanted to be talked to. And what that means is I don't cherry coat nothing. I don't I don't worry about their feelings. And that's another thing too, when it talks about the why. Like, my heart's been broken. I've been hurt. I'm a very emotional person, right? But all those scars help build you stronger. And I think when you pamper, when you hold kids back and worry about, oh, we can't, you're special. No, you're only special to your mom and dad, but are you different? Jeremy, are you different? Are you different than the other guy? I'm different.
I love
I'm
it.
not special. I put my
Yeah.
pants on just like you do and everybody else. You're not special, kids, right? You're not. But are you different? Are you willing to do the extra stuff? Are you willing to listen to a 49er fan talk about ropes, talk about knots? Because I really like knots. So, you just take it, you're crawling instead of running.
Yeah, I will say this: what I saw firsthand when I was with you guys was exactly what you're talking about, and you were very candid in front of your guys, and you are the senior man in Engine One. You're the on your tour. You're the chauffeur, right? Typically, you're the engineer and chauffeur of the engine, and with that comes responsibility that you're the guy. I mean, you're setting the tempo, and I remember we were having conversations about the guys that mentored you, and the uphill struggles and butting of heads and all of it. And it's cyclical. Like, it happens every generation. The next generation coming in, there's always going to be the butting of heads. There's always going to be a time where all of a sudden it clicks and it goes, okay, we're on a different level than where we were. All of that. But you know what was exciting for me, George, is when you and I were going back and forth, because in the conversation, there was probably, 6 or 7, 8 guys in that room, right? Having breakfast and so on. And you and I think, held court the most, right? Talking and back and forth and so on. So it really was an audience that was around us, your own guys. But what I found was, from young to the oldest guy in that room, everybody was engaged in the conversation. And I think that that's a super important part. And it goes to what you're talking about, is that you're making an effort and you're putting in the time to share with the young and older guys how you feel, the way it should be, setting the tempo, setting the pace, talking about the process. That's important. We need more of you in the firehouses, because some of these young kids are getting lost because we don't have anybody there setting that expectation for them.
And I think, and thank you for that, Jeremy. It's taken a long time, because we talked about leadership and where you want to go, which is you could go down rabbit holes on that.
Sure.
But real leaders lead, and I'm not saying I'm the best, and I'm not saying that this says leader. No, it just simply says the guy's got a lot of passion and heart, and you got to match that. When you're a young guy and you come into my firehouse, and every young guy knows this, like, I'm willing to shake your hand, I'm willing to smile, say good morning, show genuine interest, but you got to meet my passion halfway. You're never going to beat my passion, and you're never going to beat my effort, right? I'm different.
Love that.
You're just not. Right? I'm different. And as soon as young people understand that, I honestly believe, at least I did that with the guys that I looked up to. They want that from their senior guys. They need that from those senior guys. And because we have both been there, Jeremy. I'm talking about the calls of the calls, right? I've got 3 of them in 16 years that will always be with me. Those calls, those junior guys, they look at the officers and they look at the senior guys, and more so senior guys, because officers are going to do what the book tells them to do, and the SOPs and staff and blah, 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 blah. What are the senior guys doing? How do they carry themselves? Are they just grabbing the mic and going, fire, and throws the damn mic? Or are they giving you a good on-scene report with calm, collective voice, right? Yeah. And then giving you, all right, here's our plan A, right? We are going to run a pitch, and Jeremy, you're going to smoke that linebacker, all right? Or I call an Omaha, right? And we do a fire attack because we got fire blowing out the roof now instead of the Charlie side. You know what I'm saying? So the senior guys really laid the way on how the younger guys are going to move. And in the firehouse is the most difficult work, right? Tactics. Out on the scene, man, you can train for that, right? Books will help you. Training centers will help you. Fire attack, vehicle extrication, rescues, right? There's tactics, YouTube. My God, the power of YouTube now has been such a great tool, right?
Very true.
But it's the firehouse stuff that, like, you and I had a great conversation, and it really was. It was so much fun to me and rewarding to me to have that conversation with you, and then to have some of my guys that I work on a daily basis, because that day we had mix and match. We had some senior guys on vacation, so we had some junior floaters coming in. So, those junior guys got a great opportunity, and I know later in life they'll look back on that Sunday morning and kind of, oh, that's what George and Jeremy was talking about. That's what they meant, right? Because it's taken me a long time to realize that from the people I looked up to. Me too. One of my best role models, and still to this day, and he'd roll his eyes, but Mr. Tom Parrott, he was a driver operator of Engine 1 when I was 3rd. and he's a big man, very intimidating man, physically intimidating. And he was business all the way, business, and a great teacher, but he had maybe 30 seconds for your punkness. Like if you were a punk and you didn't want to listen to what he wanted to say,
That's it. Yeah.
he's shipping you out. He don't have time for it. And I try to really mirror the way I do things on a day-to-day basis like he did, but maybe just a little bit more subtle, not quite as, brass as he was. Just because again, you got to learn from the younger guys, and we got a lot of great younger guys, and we can't discard any of them. We got to look
Did
at them
you?
as a. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you, like, so you mentioned, what was his name? Your mentor, the big guy?
Tom Parrott. And
Tom
he's gonna
Parrott.
kill me too for mentioning his name. Like this might be the last time you see me, Jeremy, because he's big man.
That's all right. He's tolerated you this long, so you've
Yeah,
gotten more than 30 seconds now with him, so you're good. He's gonna deal with it, man. But I'll
yeah.
tell you this, right? Like, do you now where you are today, 16 years later in Sioux City, running in that senior man spot, if you will, at the big house downtown, right? Engine one, ladder one, right? Station one. You find yourself now in that position. Did that just happen overnight? Like, did
Mm-mm.
you wake up one morning and go, man, I'm that guy now?
Mm-mm.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
talk to me about that process, because I think a lot of people one day just walk in the firehouse and go, holy shit, I've become that guy.
yeah,
Like, it's now on me, and they have to pull from everything that they've learned up to that point.
yeah, yeah. No, God. That's a great question. No, it didn't happen overnight. Number one. Number
Mm,
two. It's one of those. All right, I got to see where I slide into this, and I'm not alone there. He wasn't there that day, but my counterpart on truck one, Troy Porter is his name. He's
yeah,
senior to me on the fire service. He's been driving a year longer than me. We're a duo. We're a team, and I've learned a
I
lot from him.
love,
He's kind of the silent assassin. He doesn't say a whole lot,
love that.
um,
Yeah,
but
love those
because I
guys.
obviously, as you guys all can see, I say plenty. Um, but it's Jeremy. It's like this. It's just like when the senior guys start to vacate your firehouse, right? The people
Mm,
you look up to, you got to look at that. I believe you got to look at that and go, okay, well, Tom Parrott just left. The guy I looked up to just left. He taught me things. He tried to instill some knowledge that he had in me. What am I going to do with it? Where's that why? Right? We're going back to the why. Why am I here? What am I doing this for? Am I just doing it for a pension so I can look good in the uniform? So I can go get some girls? Can I be a rock star? Whatever. Why are you doing it? So I decided, like, you know what? This is my firehouse. This is my fire department. These are the citizens that I grew up with, right? And now that I have children of my own, what do I want to be? Do I still want to be that punk kid that thought he knew it all? Or do I want
yeah.
to take some lessons from the older guys and try to step in because holy buckets, I'm 47 this year and I look around and I got nothing but a bunch of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds coming in my firehouse, right? Has never had somebody bleeding to death in vehicle extrication. Has never had a hot fire where you can't stand. You got to stay down, right? You try to get up and it just pushes you back down. So those real life expectations and those real life experiences, I need to help them with because you can't
Yes.
learn that in a book, right? We
Yes.
can't sit down at the coffee table like you and I has never met. We've never met and have real life conversations and show genuine respect towards each other and grow as human beings and either agree or disagree or go, man, that Jeremy, he's a cool shit. I like what he's doing. I'm going to listen, right? And so that's kind of where I rolled with it. And with the help of my counterpart, Troy Porter, but we also have some really good officers. I'm going to give a note to them guys, Lieutenant Thody, Greg Thody. Um, he's on the truck as a lieutenant. He was my third behind. He's older in age, but he's junior on the job, and the way he runs stuff is just phenomenal. Um, Captain DeBont, my officer, my captain. I've been blessed with two great captains. So they're the bosses, right? So the way they run the crew is huge, but what they do I try to take it and I try to go, okay, this young guy isn't going to be he ain't going to receive what Tom's trying to tell him, right? Captain
Right.
Devont, he ain't going to receive it. So then I got to try to help him.
You know what that's called, right? It's called bridging the gap, and that's a program that I do. I mean, that is exactly why we're the same age. Our generation, this is our job. We were raised this way because we know life when it was much simpler to where we are today, and we appreciate the older generations but value the new generations, and we bridge that conversation. It's so funny you said that because I'm so much the same way, and I think that's why you and I get along so well. But that's so important. But it comes from our generational upbringing, but it still takes you to go all in on the process because you could take everything that was instilled into you and do nothing with it. We have plenty of guys that do that, but you see the value in it. And the only way that you're going to be able to fit into that equation is if you take what you've learned, you value the people around you, and then you share that in a way that's more understood, or you come to a different level with that next generation to get them on board. Because the one thing that I'm terrified of is how do we get more guys after us to value what we've given them and they're willing to spend the time to share that with the next generation. That's what I'm worried about.
Right. Yeah, and I share that worry as well. You know what I mean? But again, I think, and this is where, depending on that young person, right, whether it be a female or a male, if they're listening to me and I can connect, so then that's when I just talk about the why, right? Like the why, your why for waking up in the morning is so important, so important. When you have that drive, when you have that passion for whatever it is you do, there's nothing that can deter you from going to bed that night with a smile on your face, right? Like I did my job. I did my job as a firefighter today. Why? Because maybe I was fortunate enough to save somebody's life, which we know is rare. Number two, even though I didn't have a chance to save somebody's life, but I had a chance to impact somebody's life. Am I impacting their life in a positive way, right? Whether it be a citizen we serve or what we're talking about, the people that serve with us. So to answer your question, I just try to put that back on them. Like once I get to know the kid and he knows me or she knows me and they get to work with me, one, they know they're not going to outwork me. You get that right out of the way, just right away. I'm different, Jeremy. I'm different. I'm not special. I'm different. Number one, you get that out of the way. Once they understand that, they're like, hey, I'm going to go on engine one. I know we're going to be busy. We're fortunate enough to be in the busiest house in the city. We're going to be busy. Kids want to be busy, man. When kids are not busy, that's when they get into stupid shit. That's when they get on their phones. Kids want to be busy. And second, George is always going to want to do something, right? Whether it be ropes, whether it be fire, whether it be pulling the line, whether it be reloading the line. It doesn't matter. Whatever they would district, it doesn't matter. He's going to want to do something. And I have found when I just connect on them, right, just like whatever it is. And my second passion is working out. I love to work out. So I get some of these kids, some of these big mirror muscle boys, and like, I kind of pick their brain a little bit. Tell me about what you do. How do you do it? I'll go back in the weight room with them. I'll let them show me a few things, and then I'll show them a few things that I've learned over 25 years of doing it. And then we connect with that, you know? And so
love it.
You gotta put it back on them. Again, I think the youth of the fire service is heading in the right direction as far as aspirations, far as having the knowledge and the technology that you and I never had. But we just got to make sure we put it on them and understand that the responsibility that was given to us, right? We didn't ponder it away. We didn't flush it down the toilet. Jeremy, you took initiative to go out there and meet people. Jeremy, you took the initiative to start a radio, the fire radio, right? And have these conversations that normally are not going to happen. So, you know, you're a trendsetter. What is the next Jeremy going to do? What's the next guy going to do? You know, and the next engine one driver hopefully does it better than me, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's all you can hope for, right? I hope I'm doing it better than what Tom did, right? I mean, and that's only going to come with experience, with patience, and just, you know, having those hard conversations. And honestly, too, man, you got to get real with people and show love. Like, man, everybody wants to be, if I kid for a minute, Jeremy, everybody wants to be this really tough right? Mustache and tatted up, and that's cool. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. But on the same token, man, you're just a human being, right? You're not as tough as you think you are, right? And just because I'm not struggling with this particular call, or I'm not struggling in my particular time in my life, he or she might be. So how about you
Yes.
just tone it down just a little bit and actually show genuine concern for that person that's sitting across the table?
I love it. I love it. Well, jeez, there's a lot there.
I know. I get diarrhea in the
Listen,
mouth,
bro.
Jeremy.
No, but I let you go with that because it's such a powerful message, and I think all of that was just really well said. The one thing I recognize is that it takes work, and we need, as much as we focus on the younger generations, we need the more mid-range guys and guys that have some years in to put into work to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of the job and bringing this next generation along with us. And it takes work. You're willing to put the work in. You've learned over your tenure in life that it takes work, right? Shucking corn, working at a restaurant, all these things, right? You hustled to make sure you could put food on the table, and you learned work ethic. And now you get to share that in the fire service. You found the fire service, and the fire service has given you an opportunity to share all your lessons learned, but you're willing to put that work in. I want to challenge everyone that's not putting in work, do work. It's your responsibility. We need you to be part of this process, and you don't get to point the finger. Like that doesn't work. Like we don't get to point the finger and blame. That's it. Pick up your game and go to work. We need you to work. Whether volunteer, career, paid on call, doesn't matter. The only way the fire service trends upward is if we all put in the work. That's it.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, amen, brother. I mean, again, that's why you and I have connected. Again, I'm quoting the guy but you got to love the process. Like, there's too many people out there, young and old, that don't want to do with the process. They just want to get the bugles, right? They just want to get those nice, beautiful stripes on the sleeves,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And those individuals, in my opinion, number one, you could pick them out right away, away.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, there's no love, right? There's no love for it. You got to love the process. Here in Iowa, we get to experience all 4 seasons. I got to tell you, it is bittersweet fighting a structure fire in 20 below, right? You're out in the snow. It's cold as balls, Jeremy, cold. And you're trying to fight a structure fire. And everybody that's in the Midwest can relate to that, right? It's good and bad. But when you do that over a course of time, the next time you sit in front of a young firefighting class, or the next time you go to a promotional, or the next time you get to meet an individual from the coast or wherever down south, and you get to spit the game, you get to talk shop, right? You can relate to those experiences, and you can own those experiences. We get too many guys and gals that climb that corporate ladder, right? And kudos to them. I'm not throwing shade at them, but on the same token, they don't love it as much as you and I do because of those experiences, right?
They also haven't had the experiences.
Exactly. Yeah, because you get in those officer roles, and it has to be that way. You get in those officer roles, right? There's other things that you have to do as quote unquote leaders, right?
Yes.
You don't get to sit around the coffee table and say, look, I got 2 hours. I'm going to go take these 3 guys and we're going to pull this attack line, right? Or let's flip it with EMS taking over 90% of our calls here in Iowa, right? Is, hey, let's go review a code. Let's go review anaphylactic shock. Let's go review right now. Unfortunately, we got fentanyl problem here in Sioux City. Let's go review fentanyl overdoses and how we handle it. What's that look like, right? Your officers or your younger generation or even the older generation, right? The old guys that, well, I was never a driver, or I never spent time on the back, right? I was never a pump operator. I was never a truck driver, right? I didn't have to stack the aerial. Well, you don't have those experiences to fall back on. You don't have the love. You don't have the passion. All you have is a book, and you're just telling these kids, well, this is how you're supposed to pump at a fire. Really?
And this is where we get in trouble, right? Because we're telling these kids they need to trust, they need to love the process. They have to trust in the process. And if we put people in the process that are letting them down, they will not trust the process. And that is like a really big part of this conversation, is that we need people in the process that have been there, done it, and have solid advice and wisdom from actually doing. And when we don't, this younger generation that is privy to instant knowledge and instant information, and they want to learn. They ask the question why. It's because they're actually intrigued and they want to know why. They need to be shown how, but they're willing to listen and learn. We just need our teachers within the process to know actually how to teach them.
Right. Right.
And the only way that's done is when you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and then also too, if I may, I'll add to that. Not only is it because I've experienced this more at technical rescue across the country than fireground. I've had some instructors that they've been there, done that, and they've been there, done that, Jeremy, and they're going to tell you the right way to do it, right?
Yes.
Where we both know, like, there's 100 ways to skin a cat, right? There's 100 ways to do it. And those individuals, again, it is an honor and it's a privilege and it's even a gift to be, quote unquote, the leader of that shift. That leadership title, you didn't give it to yourself. Somebody gave that to you. So with that comes great responsibility to take that experience and take that knowledge that you've gained over 16 years, over 20 years, over 25 years, right, of your fire service, and be able to go, you know what? This is what's happened to me. This is what I've done since then. I really highly suggest you do it in the same way or the manner. But understand that not every situation coming forward is the same situation that you had. So 100%. I mean, it's really, because we've also had those old guys, right? Those old crusty guys that are horrible teachers, right? They don't want to listen to you. They don't want to be able to change, right? We don't feed the horses anymore in the stalls, right? We just don't. We don't have the 3/4 ton boot, or quarter boots. We don't have the big over, right? We just don't do that anymore, right? And we still have some of those old salty dogs. God bless them. You know, times have changed. You got to be able to adapt. And you said it. We bridge that gap. That's you. You said that, and we bridge that gap. You and I, and guys like you and I, where we're able to take the wisdom of the old, but still be able to go, okay, we're just not going to do that because that's what they did 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And we know there's new and better ways to do it.
I love it. Well said. Very well said. I want to ask you this. You broke it down before too, which is I think important. You talked about in the position you're in today as the senior man, quote unquote, in the firehouse. Part of it is teaching and educating. The other side of it, though, too, and you alluded to it before, was getting to know your people. And that we're all different. We're not special. We're different. And that takes a personal level when you go all in on your people. I know that mental health is an incredibly important topic for you. I know that you speak about it. You have your opinions and ideas about it, which I love. And I want you to share that with me. But it all stems from being present and going in on your people, correct? Like, you need to be present. And I think that's where I'm trying to find the right words to kind of segue into this topic. But I think being present is a big part of it, no?
I would agree, Jeremy. And let's, it's always a tough one to get started. I got to tell you, so for me personally, the mental health to me was always difficult because I was kind of like, well, I don't suffer from depression. I don't get anxious. We all deal with stress. Stress is a part of life, right? Like,
yes.
I hate it when people say, well, my life is stressful. Life is supposed to be stressful. I mean, it's not supposed to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, it's just not that way. It's just not that way. So, the mental health, I think what always bothered me, and I'm going to get a little bit deep here. So bear with me. And if I offend anybody, I truly apologize. I'm not trying to offend anybody. So what drives me absolutely up the wall and that will turn me off is when somebody will say brother or we're a brotherhood, which we are. We truly are. But that takes time, right? Fire service is an extension of your family. It's also been said our second family, right? Which is 100% accurate. But what's unique about that is we just getting to know each other, Jeremy. And if we lived in the same firehouse every third day, because that's my schedule, we would get stronger and closer together as brothers. But that takes time. If you're on my rig, and I had this conversation about and we've come a long way in Sioux City with mental health and the people that has been in the forefront of making programs, having our critical incident stress debriefing teams. They've done a great job. But, and I've said this to them, and I said this in open forum, and it wasn't very popular. Don't come to me and give me your shoulder to cry on when you don't know my kid's name, when you don't know that I'm a huge Niner fan. Like, don't come to me. I'll tell you to go get bent in a minute. Like, don't. That's not me, right? You can't tell me you love me. You can't tell me that you're there for me if you never take time to talk to me, if you never take time to have a conversation with me. Like, you got to be a genuine person with genuine concerns, right?
Yes.
Because I have seen it, and it makes me sick. It truly does. Unfortunately, years ago, we had a retired member take his life, and the nickname for this guy, no kidding, Jeremy, was Who. His name was Who. That was his nickname because he was a really secluded guy. He was a different kid, right? He just was different.
Yeah.
And people didn't get a chance to know him. And then maybe a year after he retired, he took his life. So what happened? I was only 4 years on. What happened is we had a huge kumbaya, and they called in this psychologist, mental health gal. God bless her, because she didn't know what she was walking into. And it was an absolute embarrassment. It was an awful environment. I had senior guys getting mad because they didn't want to talk about their feelings. I mean, it's almost like they just wrote it all off like it was a part of the job. You know, and fast forward to the events and the way we've grown as a fire service and the way we've grown here at Sioux City Fire Rescue about actually caring more. We still have members that want to give me a shoulder to cry on, but they've never really taken any time to get to know me. Like,
Yeah.
I have my core, right? Just like you have your core. Fire
Yes.
guys and non-fire guys when the times get rough. And I think that's truly important too. It goes back to the why and the people you look up to, right? Like, I'm not here for George Blaps. I'm here for my wife, my kids, and the citizens I serve. That's why I exist, right? And the people in my life that are truly, truly close to me that I can cry in front of, right? They've always been here for me, and me
Yes.
for them, right? And I think as a fire service, when it comes to mental health, you really need to take the time on the day-to-day operations when times are great to really get to know those people and have those interactions with those people, because when they're not great, hey, Jeremy, call your crew together. We know you had a really bad fire last night where we had multiple deaths, right? We need to have a critical incident stress debriefing, which is needed. But on the same token, how much are you getting out of that debriefing, right? Who's sitting across the table that's truly struggling with it? But I don't know George. George's never taken the time to talk to me ever. Yeah, I know he's driver of Engine 1, but when is he ever, outside of right now, taking the time to talk to me? So
Yeah.
that's number one. Number two, I had the discussion, and I know I'm gonna mess this up, but she works for the International. They started that mental place out in Colorado for police and fire. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about, Jeremy?
I don't, but I don't.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's through the International. It's a great service. We brought him in, and she was given a presentation, and she did a great job. And of course, me being me, I kind of picked it apart. I wasn't picking it apart to be mean about it, but I was picking it apart because I see flaws. And those flaws are this. We want to address your problem, George, Jeremy, with the fire service and the calls that you have. But we never addressed the 30 years of you being a firefighter. How do you run your day-to-day life, right? I can only suggest to you as an individual, you need to live a healthy life. You need to have healthy mental, and you need to have emotional, social, right? Spiritual health. You need to have those in order to do our job correctly. Again, I got too many wannabe rock stars with their tattoos and mustaches acting like big tough guys, and then 20 years they want to eat a shotgun, right? Well, what did your pregame look like? And I'm not trying to be a prick. I'm not trying to be cold-hearted or a guy that knows it all.
Well, I don't think you are. I think you're being real, and this is the part of the conversation that's missing.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said, all this stuff is great, but you get these guys and gals when they're on their last limb. Like, I know you guys look like rock stars. These guys are at the bottom, right? There's only one way but up. I mean, anybody can look like a rock star. No discredit. But what are we doing through the 30 years? What are we doing for our people? How are we leading, right? Right? Leaders lead, right? I'm not special, but I'm different. I go to church on Sundays. I believe in Jesus Christ. I try to practice as a good Christian, right? You don't have to be a certain religion, but I think you need to have a God in your life to understand that there's things that you can't control. And
Yeah.
you can only have faith that things are going to get better. And that faith keeps you going, number one. Number two, at the end of the day, when they put George in the ground, I want them to remember that I was a good dad and a good husband and an okay firefighter. Like, what's my purpose in life? My purpose in life is my kids. My purpose in life is to try to be the best father figure I could be, because I didn't have that. I didn't, right? Me and my brother didn't have that, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there that had it worse than me. So please, this isn't my story. Oh, woe is me. That's not me, right? That's number two. And number three, I truly believe fitness is medicine, right? We want to pump all these drugs. We want to pump all this money into this doctor, this psychologist. Just get off your ass and go do some work, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, whether it's walk, run, lift, CrossFit, yoga, I don't care, but do something.
Yeah.
Fitness is medicine, and it helps you dissect and digest the bullshit that comes with fire service and public safety. It truly does, man. It is an honor and a privilege to be a firefighter, but it's a curse. It's a curse that weighs on people, right? Because you're constantly asking yourself, whatever call you have, what could I have done different? How could I have done better, right? I had a baby. Dad rolled on the baby, suffocated the baby. Beautiful blue lips because he didn't have an ear. Had a little blood. I could still see the baby. I've seen the baby for 10 years, right? I finally had to go talk to somebody because I could not stop seeing the baby, right? Those calls are going to stay with you. There's nothing you can do about it. But how do you process it? What's your pregame look like? So in 30 years, you can enjoy life instead of going, you know what? I'm at the end and I only know one way, and that's to eat a bullet.
Super powerful, and I love your approach. How do we implement that? How do we do better? How do we not wait? Because you're right. What we're doing is it's reaction. There's no, we're being reactive, right? We're not being proactive. I think we're getting better at
Yes.
it
Yes.
as a fire service, right?
Yes.
At least we're having conversations now that this is a part of who we are. This is a part of our identity. And that it's okay that if you're having struggles that we can give you tools and offer ways to cope. But I agree with you. Like the ground floor of this comes from core values. I think that we need to prepare maybe our new firefighters, maybe those probie classes, that it needs to be part of the conversation, that we have ways in which we believe you can combat the struggles of this job if you lay down a foundation early on that allows for, all of it, right?
Right. And okay, so what's that look like, right? I took a leadership class one time, and the professor did a phenomenal job. And she says, "Well, give me something to taste, touch, or feel." So to answer your question, Jeremy, how do we do that, right? Let's taste, touch, and feel it, okay? Number one, I think we as a department and we as a fire service start going, let's take a strong look in the mirror at each other. Like, are you living up to your best potential every single day?
Yes. Right.
Like, what is your why? I can't answer it, but take some time and take that hard look into the mirror and go, what is your why? What are you doing? Number one. Number two, do you have a family? What does your family look like outside of the firehouse? Like, do you interact with your kids? Do you interact with your wife? We both know that marriage and family is incredibly difficult, and it takes a lot of energy to do it, right? I also believe, with that being said, that we also have too many guys that want to get that next bugle, that they sacrifice their family for it. And what I mean by that is committees, training. I got to go down to this. Hey, one of the assistant chiefs is having a badge painting. I got it. But your kid just wanted to play cars, right? Like your kid just wanted to take time because he hasn't
I
seen
get it.
dad
Totally get it.
because you've been on a 48, right? So what does your family at home look like? And if you don't have a family, what do you do with your spare time, right? Do you meet down at the local Moe's and have beer with the boys? Because we also know that alcohol and divorce and drugs and the public safety is at a high. We know that.
Hand in hand.
All right. So instead of having a Moe's, right? Again, and I do apologize out there for the people. I'm not special, but I'm different. I started years ago meeting guys and doing workouts, right? I've had on 2 or 3 different occasions after those workouts, individuals come to me, cry on my shoulder because of a call they had that I wasn't even with them, right? I got to tell you, that was so rewarding to me, and I thanked them later on, right? Again, what are we doing with our guys outside of the job, right? How many, and I've said this to a lot of people, and I've made a lot of people mad on my department about it. I says, I can get 30 or 40 of you to go to somebody's pool and get drunk, but I can't get 30 or 40 of you to go to church. I can't get 30 or 40 of you just to hang out like non-alcoholic. I'm not saying that alcoholism is the reason, and I'm not saying if you drink, you're a bad person. That's not what I'm saying, right? An occasional beer does taste good. Wine. But what are we doing with our days off? Like, what are we doing?
Right. Where's the focus?
And then also too, like, I think it's great that people have second jobs, right? And they live financially very stable. That's what they have to do, right? But do you get off work, go to your second job, put in a 12-hour day, neglect your health mentally, neglect your health physically, socially, and you're neglecting your family just to wake up in the morning, do your second job again for another 12 hours because you got a big job, I got to get this done, and then you go back to the fire service, right? I mean, so what are we doing with our time, right? And when it comes to teaching the probies, I think leaders lead. Like,
that's it.
Every probie, every floater knows they can reach out to George and go, I'm going to go do, Olson Stadium is one of our football fields here in Sioux City, Iowa, Morningside College. It's a football stadium. It's got bleachers. It's got a track. It's 90 degrees out right now. And guys know they can call me and say, hey, you want to meet at noon for a run, right? Also, too, again, getting back, you don't have to have a religion, but there's things in our everyday life that you can't explain. You need something. You need an outlet, right? Find some spiritual help, right? Because it will help you. It will help you. The bottle doesn't help you. The drugs doesn't help you. The rock star wannabe life doesn't help you because after 30 years, Jeremy, you're getting replaced. I'm getting replaced. Somebody's coming in here and doing this.
That's right. That's right.
The job does not define me. And I think that's another thing, too, that you got to teach our younger individuals that, and it is an honor and a privilege to be a firefighter, higher than anything else. I love it, but it doesn't define who I am, right? I define the fire department. I define Engine 1, right? I'm not special, I'm different, right? And I bring that difference on a day-to-day level with mistakes, with passion, and with heart. So when I have those tough calls, you have them. There's nothing you can do about it, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But you got to be able to dissect it in a healthy way, and you got to be able to process it and get rid of it, or it'll just eat you up, and we know the outcome of that.
Damn. So good. So good, my man. Like, I mean,
I don't know about that.
I'm sitting. No, I actually, I really do. I mean, you know, a lot of times in podcasts, it's a lot of back and forth. And today I'm kind of sitting back, just listening because, I think, no, God, no, that's the last thing I want you to say. I want more of it because you can tell that what you're speaking about and where you're coming from is built on many years of putting this all together for yourself. And now, you know, today with me, and I'm sure you've shared it other times and you've mentioned you've shared it with, you know, departments and meetings, union, whatever, right? But like today you get to share it with me and I get to share this with the fire service, and I'm excited to do that because it's a very strong message. And, you know, a lot of times we're not having the real conversations. We're kind of sugarcoating, you know, when we do talk about mental health. I mean, 30 minutes ago, we started going down the mental health road. And it's a very different conversation than I have on most conversations when we talk about mental health in the fire service. Yours is a much more realistic approach that comes from a place of understanding and dynamics that, you've formulated over time. And I think that your message will resonate with so many people. There's just so many things. I was taking notes the whole freaking time, bro. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you. And honestly, too, the true thanks should come to you and for putting this platform together. I'll get going on my soapbox, and the people that usually hear it are the same people that's heard it for 10 years, and either they like it or they don't like it.
Totally.
Right? And I don't care either way. That's another thing too. Right, wrong, or indifferent. The great Popeye said it the best. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. And then that's all I am. I am what I am, and I'm not going to change. I think there's parts of me that sometimes the wife wish I would change, but this is what you married. This is what you get. This is what the department hired. So this is what you get.
But understand, George, the best part about that is you recognize that. And that took me a long time to figure out that who I am is okay to be who I am. And my needs are what I need to be good in life. And so you have to get to a place. I think so many people have not found who they truly are yet.
Right.
They live a fictitious life. They have they don't understand or break down truly who they are as a person. They haven't given themselves enough time in the process to figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. And I mean that. Like, I think that that's a very powerful message. This is who I am. I can't really change it, because who I've become is based on my experiences and past practices and everything that's led up to where I am today. And I've come to realize this is who I am. This is how I behave. This is how I act. This is who I want to be. If I don't like something about myself, I have the opportunity to change that, but I have to want to do that. Nobody else can change us. Nobody.
Right. Amen, Jeremy. Amen. And again, everything across, in my opinion, everything across the spectrum that we talked about today, and even in the fire service. One thing that I love about the fire service, no matter where you go in this great country, it's similar, right? Yes. It's going to look different with the rig colors, with the stations, with the uniforms, with the patches, with the mustaches, with the tattoo. It all looks different. But when you get down into the mud, it's pretty much all the same. You got a bunch of guys and gals that just want to do good. And I think that's what I love about the service is you just want to do good. You genuinely want to do good when you come in. It's just the avenues that you take to get there is what's different. And again, I try to teach the younger guys when they come in, tactics, fire ground, all that stuff's going to come in time. But you as an individual, you got to take a look in that mirror. And I tell them all the time, Anthony, the guy you met, Anthony Gall, the great Anthony Gall, he's our fire chief in a rural department just south of Sioux City, who we've done a lot of work with. Anthony is also a school teacher here in Sioux City. And he honored me and blessed me coming in talking to some of his high school kids about the fire service, because they're going to be graduating. And so I asked Anthony, with his permission, I said, can I be me? And he said, what does that mean? Because he didn't really know me. So I told him, I said, I'm not going to cuss. I'm not going to give him any details, but I'm going to be pretty raw with him. I might even shed a tear or two, right? But that's me, right? And I think if you have a genuine senior guy that says, listen, all this super cool stuff over here, I love to do it. I mean, are you kidding me? Going code 3 at a structure fire at 2:00 in the morning, and you see that glow. Let's go. Hey, woo, let's go. I mean, that's what we do, right? We do what we do. We're different. But on the same token, you don't get to do that every day in, day out. And you need to be able to build up to that. You need to be able to have those conversations and say, listen, kid, I know you think you're good, but I want you to go out there and I want you to make a mistake, right? People know that I am not a scared dude. I've made a fool out of myself so many times during me in life that I'm okay.
Me too, brother.
And let's go out. Let's get geared up. Let's go do some work. Let's look like a monkey in a football, and let's get some work done and see what comes of it, right? And you learn from those mistakes, because what you can't do, what you never can do, is you can never go back, right? So whether it be mental health, 30 years, I never took the time to talk to Jeremy Now Jeremy's really, he's hanging on a thread. Well, I can't go back 15 years ago and talk to Jeremy. I can't go back, right? You can't go back. So if you go out there and you make a mistake on the pump panel, I can fix that. I can't go back and make that mistake better during a fire at 2 o'clock in the morning when I need water. And now your guys just got caught in a flashover, right? I can't correct it then. So if I can help people and help guys and gals just maybe look at things a little differently, maybe go, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to put that right back here. So when I have a really, really bad call, that I can maybe say a couple amens, talk to the big guy upstairs, and I can go to sleep tonight. Or, you know what? I can stretch that pre-connect efficiently, properly, and effectively and fight that fire, because I just did it with George for 2 hours because I looked like an idiot and didn't know what the hell I was doing. Right? That's pretty much in a nutshell, Jeremy. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you can't go back. Like, so good. So good. How you just packaged that up, man. You're right. We can't go back. We got to do the work now, because when we get ahead, it's the work that we've done before we've gotten there. We can't start doing the work once we get there. You'll never get there.
That's right.
Yeah. That's huge, brother. George Glass, man, rock star. You knocked it out of the park today, man. What a great conversation. Thank you.
Well, again, awesome. This was my first time, like you folks out there, I was telling Jeremy before we went live. I've never done anything like this. When you talk about old-fashioned, I'm old-fashioned. So this was new to me. Jeremy, I thank you so much. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, just getting to know you, you're a super cool guy. I really admire what you're doing. And you keep it up, man. You keep paving the way. And, man, I'm going to start listening more to you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. And, it's been a long road, and you like everything in life, ups and downs for sure. But when I get done with conversations like today, and I know what value that this back and forth will bring to anybody that's willing to spend some time with me and you and listen to this episode, there's tremendous amount of goodness that is going to come from this. It's just a great conversation, man. And George, that's really why, it was a no-brainer when I said, dude, you got to join me on this podcast, because I just knew it would be really good. And I just appreciate it, man. You trusted me with sharing some of your story today. And I think some of your insights and your knowledge is fresh and new and exciting, and you package it up differently than so many different people. And that is how we reach people, because the same message doesn't reach everyone. And sometimes we got to flip the script a little bit, find a different way to deliver solid information. I think that's exactly what just happened here today, bro. Can't appreciate you enough. Thank you so much, George.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. God bless, and everything you do.
Awesome, pal. Thanks for joining me. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to sign off the podcast, and I'm going to come right back. Okay. So just stay right where you are, man.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Peace. Go Niners.
Yep. Go Niners. There it is. There it is. Season is opening, man. It's game time. I know where you'll be on Sundays, man. Plop down right in front of that TV for sure. Awesome. Guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Man, what a fantastic conversation today. My new best friend, George Glass, out of Sioux City, Iowa. What a great conversation. And yes, that is his real name, by the way. If you're a Brady Bunch fan, that is his real name. But I just want to say this. Conversations like this need to be heard. Please share and let people know that you listened to this episode and it brought value. Share it. Let people know. Let them in and tell them this is the place to be to get incredible information from wonderful guests. And do me a favor. Take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it. Because when we're talking about the job, we'll see it. When we're talking about the job, we're making the job better. I'm fumbling over my own taglines today. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio. National Fire Radio.